The Cheetah and the Lazy Hunter. In a small Zulu village nestled among the rolling hills of Africa, there lived a young hunter named Themba. Unlike the other hunters in his village, who would wake before dawn and spend long days tracking their prey, Themba preferred to sleep late and take shortcuts whenever possible. The village elders often shook their heads at Themba's lazy ways. "How will you ever become a great hunter like your father?" they would ask. But Themba would just shrug and say, "Why work hard when there might be an easier way?" Every morning, the other young hunters would gather their spears and tracking gear, setting out before the sun rose. And every morning, Themba would pull his blanket over his head and ignore their calls to join them. One day, while avoiding his hunting duties as usual, Themba spotted something extraordinary. A cheetah, the fastest hunter in all of Africa, chasing down its prey. The big cat moved like lightning, its spotted coat gleaming in the sun as it easily caught a gazelle. Instead of feeling impressed by the cheetah's skill and effort, Themba's mind began to form a selfish plan. "If I could somehow catch that cheetah," Themba thought to himself, "I could force it to hunt for me. Then I would never have to work hard again. The cheetah would do all the hunting, and I would get all the praise." That evening, instead of joining the other hunters as they returned to the village, Themba stayed behind. For the first time in his life, he worked hard, but not at honest hunting. Instead, he dug a deep pit along one of the paths where he had seen the cheetah running. He covered the pit carefully with branches and leaves, making sure it looked just like the surrounding ground. As darkness fell, Themba stood back to admire his work, convinced he had finally found an easy path to becoming the village's most successful hunter. The next morning, Themba woke earlier than he ever had before. His excitement about checking his trap overcame even his usual laziness. But when he reached his trap, he found it empty. The cheetah had taken a different path that night. Themba's shoulders slumped with disappointment, but his stubbornness wouldn't let him give up. For the next 3 days, Themba dug more pits, placing them along every path where he had seen the cheetah's tracks. His hands grew blistered from the work, and his back ached from digging. Still, he persisted, convinced this was easier than learning to hunt properly. On the 4th night, under the light of a full moon, the cheetah finally approached one of Themba's traps. The magnificent cat moved silently through the grass, unaware of the danger ahead. But the cheetah wasn't the greatest hunter in Africa for nothing. At the last moment, its keen senses detected something wrong. With incredible agility, it leaped over the pit, landing gracefully on the other side. Then, to Themba's surprise, the cheetah turned and looked directly at his hiding spot. Its golden eyes seemed to pierce right through the darkness, filled with wisdom and warning. Themba held his breath, afraid to move. Never in his life had he felt so small, so exposed. The cheetah's gaze held him frozen in place. To his astonishment, the cheetah began walking toward him, each step slow and purposeful. Themba's legs trembled, but he found himself unable to run. "You dig many traps, young hunter," the cheetah spoke, its voice deep and resonant like distant thunder. "But you do not understand the true meaning of the hunt." Themba stumbled backward, his mouth open in shock. You can speak?" he stammered, wondering if the moon had driven him mad. "I am more than what you see, young one," the cheetah replied. "I am as old as these hunting grounds, and I have watched many hunters come and go. Some seek glory, some seek food for their people. But you—" The cheetah's tail twitched with disapproval. "You seek only shortcuts." As the cheetah spoke, The air around them seemed to shimmer with strange lights. Themba saw visions of great hunters from his tribe's past, their movements full of skill and purpose. Each one had earned their place through hard work and dedication. "Look at my spots, young hunter," the cheetah commanded. Each one was earned through countless hunts, each representing a lesson learned. Nothing worth having comes without effort. The cheetah moved, and Themba watched in wonder as it demonstrated the perfect hunt. See how every muscle, every breath serves a purpose. There are no shortcuts to this kind of grace. "Your traps," the cheetah continued, gesturing to the pits with its tail, "have disrupted the natural paths of many creatures. You've worked harder to avoid work than you would have worked to become a true hunter." Themba looked down at his hands, covered in blisters from digging traps. For the first time, he felt truly ashamed. I never thought about it that way," he whispered. "Come," the cheetah said, its voice softer now. "Let me show you what it truly means to be a hunter. It begins with respecting the land and its creatures, understanding their ways." Through the rest of the night and into the dawn, the cheetah taught Themba the basics of true hunting. How to move silently, how to read the wind, how to understand the language of the savanna. As the sun rose over the savanna, Themba realized he had learned more in one night than in all his years of avoiding work. The cheetah sat beside him, watching the land come alive with morning activity. "Your first task as a true hunter," the cheetah declared, "is to repair the damage you've done. Fill in these traps, restore the paths of the savanna." Without complaint, Themba worked through the morning, filling each pit he had dug. This time his blisters were badges of honor rather than marks of shame. The animals of the savanna watched him work, some even helping in their own small ways. When the traps were gone, the cheetah began Themba's real training. Together they tracked a gazelle, with the cheetah teaching him to read every broken blade of grass, every displaced pebble. Finally, as the sun reached its highest point, Themba made his first true hunt. His movements were precise and respectful, just as the cheetah had taught him. The hunt was clean and quick, honoring both hunter and prey. "Remember," the cheetah said, preparing to leave, "a true hunter respects the balance of the savanna. The path of least resistance is not always the path of greatest reward." As Themba approached his village carrying his first proper hunt, the people could hardly believe their eyes. Gone was his lazy slouch, replaced by the proud bearing of a true hunter. The village elders gathered around examining his kill. They noted the clean spear stroke, the respect shown to the animal, the perfect timing of the hunt. "Who taught you this?" they asked in wonder. That evening, as the village gathered around the fire, Themba told them about the wise cheetah and its lessons. Some smiled in disbelief, but none could deny the change in him. From that day forward, Themba became known not just as a skilled hunter, but as a patient teacher. He woke before dawn each day, eager to share what he had learned with the younger hunters. Sometimes during his hunts, Themba would catch glimpses of the cheetah watching from afar. Each time he would bow his head in gratitude, remembering that the hardest lessons often bring the greatest gifts. Years passed, and Themba's story became legend in his village. Whenever anyone sought shortcuts or easy paths, the elders would remind them of the lazy hunter who learned from the wise cheetah that true success comes only through dedication, respect, and honest effort. And so the lesson of the cheetah lived on. teaching each new generation of hunters that the truest path to greatness lies not in shortcuts, but in respecting the ancient wisdom of the savannah, the end.